No, plain zero. What does grab bag mean? Do you not know that? Oh my God. What? And welcome to our stream. What are you talking about? You can't just put ass into a word and think it means the same thing. No, a grab bag is it means an assortment where you can sort of just pick and choose whatever you want. The first usage of grab bag that I actually know of comes from baseball cards, surprisingly. So there was a long time that baseball cards were a tradable commodity and very popular in the United States. And you would go to these shops that would sell baseball card packs, and instead of just buying packs, you could sometimes buy grab bags, which were they had pre-opened a whole bunch of packs and they randomly assorted them into these grab bags, and you could take like a pack, and the goal was so that you could get baseball cards from all kinds of different series and years and so on. The obvious reality was that they took out all the good ones.
Mm, I
But
see.
they called those grab bags, so I'm sure that it
Okay.
predates that, but that's yeah. Should we talk about Storm Wars?
We should, but before that, let me ask you, how come it is that you don't spend all of your gold, George? It looks like you have quite a lot.
244,000 gold. Well, I thought that it might
Yeah.
be fun on the stream today to open some packs, so I just
Oh,
saved it
okay.
up.
Okay.
Anyhow, welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in. This is one of our many regular live streams. We are putting together en route to a mobile release for Storm Wars. We're building up a little bit of an archive of live streams. My name is George. Over there you have John Paul. We
That's right.
go by the names Sir Valamont and Camson, as you can see below our names in the game. Uh, I am part of the dev team. John Paul is a dev volunteer at this point, although he and I have
Volunteer.
worked in the past on other card games and have some. So we have some dev experience and really, more importantly, some industry experience with a lot of other games. And hopefully we bring that to bear when we talk about Storm Wars. And today we decided that we were going to do a little bit of an open chat with you guys about game mechanics and game balance, since that's been a really strong topic recently.
That's
And
right.
So if foremost, we should say if you guys have any questions that you want to ask, any burning questions, any burning discussion points you want to get out there, tell us live in the Twitch chat, tell us live in the Storm Wars chat, which I'm also monitoring, and we will actually talk about those on air. In the meantime, we'll do some in-game stuff like opening packs, as I said, and also maybe actually explore some of the new mechanics that have come into the game recently.
That's right. Speaking of new mechanics, I've noticed that you have tweaked some of the heroes since last week or the week before last.
I have tweaked some of the heroes in the last week or
Much,
so.
much to my chagrin, Kadir or Kutir is
I think it's just cuter, right?
cuter.
Like
Is
John
no,
Paul's
it's
monkey is cute, but the Spider Lord is cuter.
that's the fuming Spider Lord.
Why is there a monkey sitting behind you, by the way?
It's my buddy.
You're
It's
okay.
me and my
Oh,
monkey.
brother. So, John Paul and his monkey want to ask you about Cuter and how he's been adjusted. So, to your chagrin, his poison has been removed.
Yes, I was disappointed to see.
Well, sorry to hear that. It's interesting that you started a sentence with, I see you have a new mechanic and it has nothing to do with my car. Let's see. So, the Cuter here, let me open him up. You can ignore my stupid commentary. So, yeah, so all that happened with him is we removed his poison on his attack. And I like to make claims that we work in mysterious ways and you should just trust us. But the reality on that is just that we actually have statistics on which heroes are being used and how. So maybe that's the first thing to say at the top of the show here, just to explain to everybody. One of the metrics that we track regularly is we track all of the decks that are being used by all players at all times. What that means, if you are a top player and you have 10 deck slots, you have 10 decks maybe that are pre-built, and we know what those 10 decks are. We know what the heroes are that are being used, and so that's not transparent to players because players only see the defense decks, obviously, of everybody.
Hmm.
But we actually
Yeah.
see what's being used on attack, and we can also filter those reports when we print them out for ourselves based on how high ranked the player is. So we can see what the top metagame consists of in terms of attacking decks and what the bottom metagame consists of in terms of attacking decks.
Okay.
So in
Okay.
the case of Cooter, sorry for the tangent, but in the case of Cooter, there is a direct conflict between how Cooter was being used and how Anasi was being used, because Cooter, when she had poison, was basically taking all the poison synergy away from Anasi. If you just think about it, poison synergy cards like Arania are actually more effective with Cooter when Cooter has poison, because all you need is to
Yeah.
poison the first slot, and if that slot also can't attack you because it's being stunned by Cooter, and an Aradia gets a free double damage attack using its Bane skill. So Bane is a
Yeah. Yeah.
skill that does double damage on poison. It actually means that Cooter was better for poison synergy than Anasi, and that's not something we wanted. We want Cooter to have
Hmm.
synergy with the stun, with assassination, and other spider-based skills. So we weren't trying to nerf Cooter. We were just trying to make the synergy make more sense. And that's
Okay.
the what that means is that if players think that Cooter is now underpowered, we can always buff Cooter. So we're very open to things like that. It's just a discussion point. So hopefully that
All
answers the
right.
question.
Well, my n equals one opinion is that he's slightly less, or she, I don't know, slightly less powerful and slightly less effective.
It
But
is a she.
is a
She
she.
is a she. He's a
She
he's a
is a
she's a
she.
she. She's a she. She's a she. I
Well, today in,
think
in
that's a quote from
today's
Mrs. Doubtfire.
world of ambiguous gender politics,
The point is, she's huge. She's huge. Oh,
I
brother.
personally identify as an attack helicopter. So please.
You identify as an attack helicopter. Oh boy. I think the important thing is
Okay,
that
let's.
there has been a big victory from all things orange recently, and she's kind of
Yeah.
orange.
Okay. Okay.
Are you trying to
All
avoid the
right.
topic?
Let's.
Okay, we'll avoid the topic.
So wait. So does that
She's
mean
not really
that
that orange.
that you're going to what's it called? You're going to nerf Luther because everyone and their mom seems to use Luther decks.
Everyone and their mom. Luther is the most popular hero right now, and in a very short nutshell, what we think the reason for that is because you can use Luther with fast cards and with slow cards. And if you build a slow deck with Luther, the type of attack deck that beats that is very different from the type of attack deck that beats a fast Luther, and therefore Luther is probably the most
Mm.
reliable defense hero in terms of winning a percentage of fights.
Right,
Um,
because you don't know how to.
you don't know how
Yeah.
to approach him. And I don't
Right.
actually think that Luther is overpowered. So that's my issue. I don't like nerfing things that I don't think need nerfs, obviously. I also don't like nerfing things in general.
Apparently, grandmothers use Luther as well, not just
Oh,
moms.
really? Is Twitch chat telling us that? I'm going to take a sip of coffee based on that comment. Ah, moldy. Actually, that's
Oh,
not very pleasant. Never mind.
oh.
So yeah, Luther is Luther's a good hero, but hopefully we won't have to nerf him. What say you, JP? Should we actually use some of these heroes in examples? I actually want to talk about Glasha more than anyone else because she got the biggest changes to her.
Yeah, I saw that today. It's very interesting.
Yeah, she got a
Very interesting.
total makeover. You know, so I'll show you her makeover here. First of all, we adjusted her hairstyle so it looked like she was being electrocuted. That's not actually accurate. That's how she's always looked. Uh, but she has this ability now called Disarm. She used to have Slam, which was an ability where she would physically attack the first two slots of the opponent.
Right.
It was a
Which
weak
was kind of
attack, and
meh.
it was sort of so what. And she has resistance, where she resists damage beyond the second time she gets damaged every turn.
George, why don't you play some games while you're talking about
Am
this?
I
This is a
being very
request.
boring?
Well, no, that's just a request from the chat. They want you to play while you
Okay, I will. That's a good
with
point. I
Glasha.
will play a game, and just right before I do that, I'm going to show you the deck I'm using so you see kind of the point here. So this is a Glasha deck. You'll
Mm.
notice that I have just big, heavy things in it. There is literally nothing in this deck that's faster than just I have one legendary Hitbark because it's a great card, and I have a couple Queen Hulas, which are sixes, so fives and sixes, and a couple Alistairs, which are sixes, but literally everything else is slow. I mean, eights,
Mm.
sevens. I mean, okay, there's one Omegon. The majority of these things, five Saurians, six Walks with Sorrow, etc., are very slow. So this is a sort of a slow roll deck. Obviously, there's a bit of a focus on orcs because they synergize. They have the morale bonus.
Right.
right? So if you use a card that has the same faction as your hero, you get +1 life. So I just wanted to show you that deck quickly. Let's jump into the arena and actually fight some of these high level. Well, take the highest one I can find. GM Gary's a great player. Let's see if we can beat him up with this Glasha deck. And you'll see that this has more success than you'd imagine. Anyhow,
And so, what do you have to say about the whole disarm ability? Do you factor that in heavily in your deck building, or against the heroes that you pit the deck against, or not so much?
yeah, so there's two things to say about that. And, players, I think very rightfully were making the comment, why did you create an ability that basically doesn't matter except against a very small minority of cards, specifically Niven? So people were a little upset that it seemed like we were creating a hero that was a hard counter to a single other strategy. And that makes sense to be upset about that because that's not actually a principle of design that you want to create silver bullets. There are two things I'll say about that. First of all, when you're building a deck in this game, you should always be thinking about the utility of that deck. So Glasha is really not a defensive hero. She's an attacking hero. And when you're building an attack deck, the attack deck doesn't need to be versatile. It just needs to defeat a certain type of deck, right? So
Right.
in a way, all you need to do with Glasha is make sure that you pack cards with her that synergize with the fact that she disarms. It doesn't matter that she doesn't disarm very many things. The fact that you've
Mm.
reduced one particular damage type that's going to work against her means that if you include another defense, like for example a magic defense in a deck, she'll
Hmm.
suddenly become a hero that has it's very difficult to stack damage against. Did you notice how easily I just beat GM Gary's Luther deck? GM Gary is a
Yeah, that
top
was.
player. Now, why did that
Hmm.
happen? That happened because I'm taking advantage of the fact that even though I think there was literally only one ranged unit in GM Gary's deck that I fought against, which was a Niven, so my disarm skill didn't really do very much. The fact that Glasha has a lot of life, she has a lot of resistance and can take damage and basically resist it, means that I can afford to put slow, big, heavy cards in, and they can literally just uh, overpower the opponent. So let me, and I didn't set this up, by the way. These are just the random people appearing in my arena. So I'm going to use Glasha again in another Luther attack here, just to give you another
Confrontation.
example. So anyhow, uh,
Okay, that's interesting.
so yeah, I mean, I think that it's only natural for players to react strongly when we make a change. But I hope you guys understand that I'm not saying that I'm always right. I'm not saying that we're always right. But one thing you should know, which is always true, is that we only make changes after a number of things happen. After a lot of careful thought, after some testing on our end, and
Yeah.
also after other types of rigorous testing, like statistical testing, where we actually look at numbers and usages and we make intelligent decisions about these things. We've been in the industry for a while and we've been playing card games for 20 years. So we have an idea of how these things are going to play out. And, hopefully you'll bear with us and see that these changes have a direction. I, again, have won this fight easily with Glasha. I'm going to literally do one more just to prove the point because I think I can win three in a row easily. And then we'll move somewhere else. And I encourage anybody who's in the chat, either the game chat or the Twitch chat, to comment. I mean, if you disagree or if you want to make a separate point about any of this, please let us know what you think. Um, I said I was going to make two comments when you asked me about disarm. And the
Mm.
other comment that I'll make is that sometimes what happens is I'll be interested in making a change that's based on me knowing what's to come in the metagame that players may not know. So, and that's just normal. I actually know what's in my design documents for what cards are going to come in the expansion, or what cards are going to come in crew rewards that haven't been released yet because nobody's gotten there. And so I might be working on a mechanic that in my mind has more relevance than the immediate game. So for example,
Okay.
Pestilent is an extremely powerful ranged card that's about to hit the metagame because it's only just being available through crew cards. And I think that Glasha's Disarm is going to be really effective against her. That's also true of a couple of cards, which I won't spoil yet, but which are going to exist when we have an expansion. So please
Okay.
be aware that these mechanics are forward-looking a little bit. Does that all make
All
sense
right.
to you, JP?
That makes sense to me. I think people appreciate that level of insight as well, as I do.
So that's three straight Luthers beaten up pretty easily with Glasha.
Hmm.
I think that we would like to do maybe a trivia question for the chat and give away something for free.
Sure. Before we do that, there's a little question from Crocker360 who was saying that one of his crew members
Oops.
had said that there's an issue with the guard ability not saying that it blocks magic, something
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
he mentioned that to me before, and thank you for bringing that up again, Crocker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate all the bug reports. I mean, we don't have a very big QA team, so anytime you guys are bringing these things to our attention, it really, really helps, and we really appreciate it. So thank you for pointing that out. You're right. There is an issue with guard not being clear because it doesn't really indicate that it will block any magic damage, and there is some magic damage being blocked. So that's a little
Hmm.
bit of a tricky fix because I need to basically figure out what the proper mechanic is, and then once I figure that out, I can actually make sure that the card text and the implementation match it. So if you have an
Okay.
opinion on what you think it should be, like it should do this and it shouldn't do that, let me know, and we'll discuss it, and then we'll come up with a solution. But we'll try to get that fix in for this weekend's patch. Now that he's mentioned it,
All right. Cool. That sounds good. All right. So you said something about Giddies.
I did, and I don't actually have a trivia question queued up. Would you like to come up with a trivia question, or should we?
Oh wow! I think you're way better at this than I am. Putting me on the spot here.
How many monkeys are in this shot? The answer would have been two, everyone. Yeah, sorry, John Paul. He's a monkey. Okay, I can't do the Trump voice. I'm just not presidential enough. Oh, brother. Anyway, sure. Well, let's do a trivia question. I think that we actually have a slightly reduced number of people today because we're live streaming on a Wednesday and we only advertise this one day ahead of time. So we'll do maybe a slightly reduced trivia. Um, I will give. I'll give 15 gems. Let's start with gems this time. I'll give 15 gems out to. Tell me how many people are watching us in the chat right now, JP. In fact, don't tell me.
um,
I'll just give it to the top two people who get this question right.
okay, fair enough.
And you are not allowed to respond. Okay? All right.
I'm never
So
allowed to
you're
respond.
never allowed to respond. No. Let's see. What should the trivia question be? The trivia question is this: name the hero. And I know this is sort of an unfair question, maybe because you have to have inside knowledge, but I think you can probably guess it. But name the current hero in the game. There are 24 of them. Name the current hero in the game that currently has a typo in his description by calling him a female when in fact he is a male hero. See if you can figure that one out.
Oh wow, this is very
It's very
mysterious.
specific. It's very specific. Uh, And I believe that I managed to just chat that to you without it appearing on the live screen. I hope it didn't appear on the live stream screen.
Screen.
That's a tongue twister,
Live stream
or I'm
screen.
an idiot. But yes, there is a hero who is a male hero. Who the description of the male hero says that it's female. Is there any correct answer so far, JP?
Well, there's one answer, um, but I can't yet say if it's correct because other people have not answered.
Oh my goodness, we're so popular today. How funny! We should have done some more advertising. Well,
Well,
let's.
yeah, we have two correct
I
answers.
think people are
The
just looking it up.
the correct answer is indeed
Two correct answers. The
Anas
answer is Anasi. Well
Anasi.
done. Who are our winners?
So disclose and Puxit. Get it.
Congrats, guys. As you can see here, her foes is just not correct. So you guys will. What did I just say? I forgot how many gems I just said. Did I say 15? Did I say 20? We
What?
will give you an undisclosed amount of gems that I completely have forgotten, and I'll rewind the stream later on to figure out what it is. Did I say 15?
Okay.
I don't even remember.
I don't know. We'll rewind. We'll figure that
You're
out.
supposed to be in charge of these things, putting me on the spot.
I'm not. I'm on top of the chat. In fact, there's a question in chat, or just a mechanics question.
Please ask.
Is Kudyr's dart supposed to damage acid blood creatures? It
Oh,
should.
what a very good question.
It should. It's just
What
a
a
ranged
very
attack
good
now, isn't it?
question. Yeah, so I think when it was a poison attack, it shouldn't, but now it should because it's not a
But
poison attack.
now it
Does
should
it
because
not? That would be a bug if
that would be a bug. So I'm not sure. I think Cedric's something or other.
Cedric Panji.
Cedric Panji had asked. So I don't know, Cedric, if you'd had an issue with that.
Uh,
But yeah, it should do.
it's a good question. Yeah, it should. It should though. Um,
Yeah,
Obviously,
absolutely.
Acid Blood is just the Shadow Spinner at this point in time, but that's a good point. We're actually, I think, going to have an expansion card that has it as well. But that's not a promise. That's just a thought. All right. So, shall we experiment with somebody other than Glasha
Yeah,
here?
I
Are you
mean,
convinced that she's usable?
what question for you? Or also the guys in chat. I'm curious what you guys think. What's your guys' favorite mechanic or ability that you like, or combination of abilities together that you like to use in decks?
Sure. I have a fairly simple answer to that myself, which is going to be right here. I'll pull it up. That's going to be the card Grotesque. And the reason I say that is because it's very effective to have Frenzy and Drain. Drain
Mm.
will deal as much damage as your attack power, and Frenzy will increase that attack power. But one of the
Uh-huh.
real reasons I love this card is because it was invented by a player. It was literally just invented in the forums, and we literally just implemented it. So it's
Hmm.
just very cool to me when somebody comes up with that. They even named it themselves. So that's pretty
Oh,
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
Very neat. Very
It
neat.
looks like Mimic is saying Pierce double attack and Snipe is a pretty good combo. I think he's talking about Niven.
It really does. It's a really powerful card, actually. I think the only way that I am able to counter it is either with paralyze, like the spider people paralyze was the tunnel stalkers,
Yeah,
or a lot of ranged. But even with ranged, I mean, you gotta really overpower it. Otherwise, it'll just heal up, and it'll keep healing up even more. It's
right.
crazy.
You gotta be ranged.
Um,
You gotta be strong. You gotta stick together.
let's
Never
see,
mind.
Or sorry, I said Ashkar. Crocker 360 says Overdrive. I actually really like Overdrive as well.
Oh yeah,
And I mean, one of my favorite kind of, it doesn't work against high level decks necessarily, but one of my favorite.
I'm proud of Overdrive because there was a little bit of a behind the scenes spoiler here, but we we had a discussion. I had a discussion with Storm about it where he wasn't really sure that we should implement it, and I convinced him to do it. Uh,
Oh, really?
yeah, he actually edited the mechanic a little bit from my original design, so it works better. So it's actually also thanks to him. But that's one of my favorite mechanics for sure. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt
Hmm.
you. What were you saying about it?
No, I was just going to say that kind of a machine deck with Overdrive and Bloodbath
Oh
just
yeah,
can get
Bloodbath will do it. Yeah.
the Scythener mechs. They can just get really really fun.
Yeah.
And as long as you keep them alive, they can just go out of
Those
control. I
things are
mean,
crazy.
it's nuts because
Uh,
they get Overdrive. They attack 4 times. If they have Frenzy, I mean, it's just it's so much
Eight
fun.
damage is no joke. Let's be honest. Yeah. It occurs to me that there's actually one other little mechanics thing that I want to mention here. Oh, look, I actually lost with Glasha. Well, I was hoping that wasn't going to happen. Uh, any event. Let me show you one other new hero here who I think is very popular for good reason.
Hmm.
And since we're talking about mechs, I just want to make a small comment. This is Hylock here.
Yeah.
So Hylock, his prismatic ray right now is more effective than it's supposed to be. There's a slight bug where he automatically hits something with a debuff. So if it has an immunity, he
Mm.
will simply not target that unit with the corresponding debuff. So the thing with an
Oh,
immunity won't have the opportunity to dodge the debuff.
to dodge the
So, like
debuff.
for example,
Okay.
if he's attacking mechs,
Right.
since they're already immune to poison and wound, there's a much
He will
higher
attack them
chance that they'll get
with
stunned,
burn,
which is probably like
burn or
the
stun.
yeah. So a one-turn stun is actually pretty effective. So we're going to fix that so that
Yeah.
mechs are actually the most effective against Hylock. I don't think
Yeah.
that's a big nerf in any way for Hylock. It's actually a fix for Prismatic Ray. It literally affects almost nothing. Even mechs that are very immune to most things will still only have like a 40% chance to dodge it because they're only immune to two things, and there's four other
Right.
ones. So just keep
There's
that
a
in mind about
question. There's a
mechanics.
question in chat from Poxit. He's asking if you guys will ever implement a function in the game where people will be able to play test decks like in a sandbox setting, before they actually
Well,
have
I
to buy the
think that
cars to
you
do it.
can currently assign. I think you can currently assign a defense deck, which is any defense deck you want, and then you can fight it by going to your own crew and using whatever deck you want to attack yourself.
Oh, well, no, I think he meant in terms like trying out cards that he doesn't have currently.
Ah, I see.
So to see whether
Just to
it
follow up on
would
what I'm
work
saying,
out.
you can go to
Yeah.
View here on the screen here of your own deck, and you can do Duel, and then you can fight any defense you set up. But yes, a sandbox like that. Well, it's a great idea. I'd love to implement something like that. We don't currently have it. We do have a testing server where we could theoretically give everybody tons and tons of gems on testing accounts and let them do that. We do
Hmm.
sometimes do that type of thing for playtesters when we're releasing new content, but the only reason we don't have that type of thing yet is just because we have very limited bandwidth, and Storm's spending
Right.
every day just trying to get mobile working. It's quite challenging. So
Right.
uh,
But I think it's a fair idea. I mean,
it is a
like
good
Parker
idea.
says, it'll encourage people to try out new decks, and you might see more strategy variety. As it is, I think, and I don't know if this is part of the argument, but my own observation is that I think that people do tend to, what's it called, like network effect around a one particular winning strategy because they see that it works well and they try to emulate it. So I think that would be a way to make sure that people are trying out new things and experimenting a little bit more.
I totally agree. So thank you. A good suggestion. It'll be on our list.
Yeah.
And we have a long list of things that we want to work on as soon as mobile is really up and running. So
Ooh, speaking of mobile, one of the questions in chat is how is that coming along?
it's coming well. Our alpha is pretty much working. The issues that we're having right now are related to um, a few things. There's rankings and so on that has to be worked on. That's a little bit tricky, but it's largely that on the small screen of a phone, a lot of things don't show up well, in particular descriptions and text. And
Right.
ideally, we don't want to just be releasing for tablets. We want to be releasing for phones. So, to what degree can we rebuild things so that they appear well without costing us too much development time? That's actually a legitimate and difficult question. And so,
Hmm.
that's currently what we're on. And I don't have an exact time frame, but I'm hoping really, really soon we'll be basically making the announcement that this is all happening.
Right. Right.
So.
I've actually personally never tried to play a game on my phone. It just seems like, especially a card game, it seems like it would be a little too tricky to see everything. But I hope you could do it. I would certainly try it out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people do play on their phones. I mean, that is a thing. It's just not. It usually requires some kind of manipulation of the graphics, if you will, so that they do fit. I mean, that's just a simple fact. So that's not necessarily that easy to do, but certainly something that we'll try.
Mm. One of the other things that people are asking is if lockboxes will be buffed soon because apparently they don't think that the 1,000 gold is really worth
Yeah,
the
that's fallen a
key that
little
it
bit by
takes
the
to open.
wayside. It's definitely on our list of to do, and it has been on the list of to do for a long time. I think that more likely than buffing lock boxes, it will be adding new types of lock boxes or new types of boxes that can be opened using similar keys or the same
Okay.
keys. I don't know exactly. I mean, it's not a huge priority, obviously, because there are other things that are more pressing, but I'd love to do something like that. If people would like to go to the forums and make some suggestions about exactly what we can do there, maybe that can help us inspire some changes on those fronts. But in general, when we make changes to that type of content, you don't need to be worried about using up your current keys and so on, because generally we do things in such a way that um, we don't want to make it unfair for somebody who just spent all their keys and then suddenly he should have saved them, that type of thing.
Okay.
We're pretty conscientious about that type of stuff.
Okay.
I'm just running through
Well,
some quick battles in the Coliseum to show
hope,
you some
hope
matchups that I like.
that answers the question, you guys. If you have any other questions, obviously let us know. Um, but let's see, what other stuff? I'd asked about like people's favorite mechanics. We talked about overdrive a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I think there's a larger picture and a larger question about how mechanics in this game play out. They're a little bit different from other card games and so on. Um, it's useful to understand how this game is made up and how that varies from other similar card games because it really affects our mechanics. It affects
Mm,
our game balance. The largest two things are pretty simple to understand. It's the fact that heroes are so powerful in our game and make such a big difference on one hand. And on the other hand, it's the fact that you have no deck limits, so you can use unlimited copies of a card. In the case
right.
of the second thing, you have to understand that it's very, very difficult to balance things. Niven is really, I promise you, really not that much better than any other card. But the fact is that he is slightly better than most other cards and stacks well. His ability works well when you have a lot of them. So the fact that
Mm,
you can use an unlimited number of him can make him a pretty frustrating opponent. So that wouldn't be true if we had deck limits. Now, there are reasons we like to not have deck limits. It opens up all kinds of deck building. It makes our game more elegant, more interesting on many levels. There's an aesthetic there that we like. But it's very, very difficult to design because you really can't, you have to be very, very careful. You can't make anything too powerful or it instantly will control the entire metagame. And obviously, we all know that in this type of game, you don't want to be adjusting things that often because it affects people.
right. Oh,
So
apparently, George, you explained Niven perfectly. So,
I did. Oh, okay.
yeah.
Well, thank you. um, yeah.
So what other kind of
Let me explain him
synergistic?
perfectly by saying
Oh,
he's the classiest elf. He's just the classiest. His ability set is huge. Never mind.
are you gonna release orange cards at some point?
they're they're gonna be so classy.
Okay, no, but seriously, what other mechanics do you like that synergize well together? Like, I mean, I don't know. Could,
There are a number of them. I mean, I like Bard, that crew card, which has both Battle Song and
and
Heroic Ballad.
yeah, right.
So he buffs. He has two types of buffs that he runs every single turn, and I just think that in any kind of a stall deck, he's pretty good because he gradually increases the abilities of your card. I'm thinking to myself now, all of a sudden, that I should probably put him in my Glasha deck. I didn't think of that until now.
Hmm.
So I like things like that. I really like sort of exploring and discovering new combinations of things, and that's why I always appreciate player feedback. If people suggest putting together a couple of skills that haven't yet been put together, we will certainly heed that advice.
So my favorite mechanic, because Disclose just agreed it was really cool, is Web or Paralyze. I
Yeah,
love decks that are control decks, because if you're well, unless you come up against dragons, which I hate, especially legendary dragons, because I don't have any, and
they're pretty strong.
they always cramp my style, because all of my tunnel stalkers and trap creatures generally become very ineffective. But I have a lot of tunnel stalkers, so I love decks that are control decks, and you can win against decks with much more powerful cards just by using um, like web or paralyze and stuff like that. Which
Paralyze is
when when
very
it when
strong. Yeah, we may have to
when it
do
happens.
something about it slightly in the metagame, but it is very strong.
No, I don't think it's very. No, it's. I think it's fine. It's fine. I think
I think
it's
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 great.
very
Yeah.
specific. It's very specific. It's you can't use it against all decks. But when you use it and it works, it's very
It
poetic.
is. It's very poetic. Okay. Yeah. No. Look, I agree. That's why we have it. It is a pretty neat. mechanic. Um, it it's been used a lot in the case of stalls and in case of wall stalls with a lot of dream dust, which is that spell that paralyzes everything at once,
Right, right.
as sort of a means of countering a lot of strong defenses. I can show you that card right now. This is Dream Dust. It's part of the
Right.
standard set. It's a rare card, and it paralyzes three or more
Have
enemies.
you used a Viona deck with web walls, Dream Dust, and
I don't generally use that deck. I know of it pretty well. I've
web
seen it.
throwers?
I mean, I've tested it a lot and I've seen it a lot. I certainly follow its presence in the metagame, but I don't personally use that deck with much frequency. But it's certainly a valid and very popular deck.
Mm. Yeah, well, I mean, the weakness is that ranged will eventually take it down, right?
Yes, and that was a very weird bunch of static that I just got on your end.
Sorry.
Am I losing you, JP?
I'm still here, unless I'm not. I don't know.
Oh wow, it sounds like you've just gone into a tunnel. Are you going into a tunnel?
No, as you can see, I'm static.
I don't know. All I'm seeing and hearing is static at this point. Oh brother. Well,
Okay.
we may have to hang up and call back JP here.
All right. Well, call me back if you need to.
Uh, that's what we're gonna do. One moment, fellows. Anyway, JP is in Greece, and so the um, connection's not
All
always
right.
great.
What about now?
That's perfect.
All right. Cool.
Anyhow, perhaps we can give away one more trivia answer here, or one more prize based on a trivia answer.
All right. Sounds good.
Do you have any kind of trivia in mind?
Uh, other than no, I don't.
Other than no? How about a topic? Give me a topic.
A topic: dragons.
Dragons?
Mm.
Okay. Let's think about dragons. What topic can we give on dragons? Um, hmm. I can't
What's the
think of
most
anything.
annoying dragon?
What's the most annoying dragon? There's really no right answer to that question. They're all pretty annoying.
God, I hate. I mean, look, the black dragon. At least if you have a manivore out, you can do something. The red dragon, it's just it sucks. It's such a beast.
Although the red dragon, I think, is using a ranged attack. So if you have Painter of Winds out,
Oh, really?
that will help you. But no, you're right. I mean, the red
Yeah.
dragon does a ton of damage. Actually, the blue dragon does a ton of damage if you don't have a manivore.
Oh, oh yeah. Oh, because it does more damage than the
Aristar, it does
black.
two to three damage, magic damage
Yeah,
on everything.
yeah, yeah. But Shortloth, I mean, it
It also
heals
heals
up, so I
itself.
think that
That's true.
balances out somehow.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Well, all right. Sorry, tangent
Is there
there.
some kind of chat suggestion for a trivia question?
A chat? Well, no. People were just responding to which is the most annoying dragon.
There are a lot of them. Yes, there are a lot of annoying dragons. I actually think that one of the most underrated dragons in the game is the green dragon whelp, which is I think the rare version of the green dragon. It's really
Right.
fast. It's 5 speed, and it has magic shield, and it is
And intimidate.
super useful.
And intimidate. Not a lot of things have magic shield.
Yeah, magic shield is a great ability.
And not a lot of things have magic shield that are melee creatures. So
Right.
that makes it quite rare.
Yeah.
Oh man, that would have been a great trivia question. God damn it, George.
What what has magic shield and has melee? Has a basic
Yeah.
attack. Well, there's several creatures.
Okay. Well. Okay. Well, maybe that should be the trivia.
Okay, fine. All right. The trivia question uh,
Is name.
will be
Name. Yeah.
name a non-dragon which has magic shield and a basic strike attack.
Okay. And how many answers
I
and how
can
many
only
people?
think of one.
Okay.
It's not a dragon. Of course, what is the prize this time, other than notoriety?
Bragging rights.
Bragging. I totally answered the trivia question on the live stream, man. It was amazing. Enough talk. Let's see. How about maybe the prize should be, I don't know, 3 glowstones?
Okay. Well, we have answers.
Do we have correct answers?
Yes, we have multiple correct answers.
Okay, so top two, I think, get 3 glowstones. Who are those
All
people?
right. It's Captain Thunderwalker and Harper Jeremy.
Okay, well done, guys. The answer, of course, Dawn Guard, which is a crew card that has
I believe Captain Thunderwalker is one of my crew. Boom.
one of your crew. What crew are you in now?
Yeah.
Are you in Odorant Dum
Yes,
Metuant?
I
You
am.
put the dumb in Odorant Dum Metuant? It's just,
Yeah, I do.
yeah. Well, look, you have a monkey overlooking your shoulder there. It's like he's monitoring you. He's training. You're on the job monkey training.
Yeah, maybe he needs to sit on my lap.
John Paul, it's not that kind of live stream. Also, he only has one arm.
I know. Oh,
Oh boy, a one-armed monkey.
he's incomplete.
Oh brother. All right. Is there any other set of mechanic stuff that we need to talk about on this stream? I know
Um,
there's one question that people have been asking me: what's going to happen with Sa Ras? And correspondingly, when are we going to be done with the beta version of these new heroes? Well, I think we're getting close to it, and I think that Saras will probably be our next major update on heroes. We'll finally give him an ability that's a little bit more useful. Uh, and then probably once we test that, we'll be ready to call these things not beta anymore. So bear with us on that.
okay.
Thank you guys for your continued testing and feedback on all of it. And I'll leave the floor open for any questions or discussion points that you guys want to have.
Yeah, what the heck is the plan with Ross? That's the question.
Is that literally what just happened in chat?
Yeah.
Let me put it this way. The issue with Saras is that spells take up deck slots. And because they take up deck slots, it's difficult for Saras to have enough creatures for him to fight, and also for the spells that are, when they're triggered, they're giving his creatures a bonus to do anything. So it's not really feasible right now anyway for him to have a pure spell deck, just because then you lose automatically because you have no creatures.
Right.
Uh, so there needs to be some kind of a mechanic that enables him to pack spells without it being a major disadvantage.
Well,
So
maybe it's as simple as, spells in this deck don't count or count for less
yeah, but
than a
you say
card.
the word simple like you think that's simple to implement. Like that's not at all simple. That's extremely. I didn't even understand it. That's how unsimple it is.
Well, I mean, like, if his deck capacity is 30 or whatever, 30
Oh
cards,
yeah, but
like
that's
every
that's
time.
not really relevant. I think what's relevant is, that they sit in the staging area and they take up space quite literally. That's what I mean by
Oh,
taking up slots.
I
I
see.
see, said the blind man.
Yeah, I see.
I see. Okay, so suffice it to say that I have some ideas in mind for how to make that not an issue for Saras anymore, and we'll see if it works. And if it does, great. But I'm going to try to implement that soon.
Okay, well, apparently, Stratocumulus Captain Thunderwalker says, "What I would do is increase deck size and make him draw a card whenever he plays a spell." What do you think about that, George?
I think that that is a reasonable suggestion, one which we have thought about, and so we could do something like that. It's a little bit difficult to know how that would affect. I think it would make him. I mean, I just think that if he's instantly drawing another card, there's some spells that are really, really fast, like bounce and so on, that might turn that overpowered very quickly. Or more relevantly, it might make it so that only certain spells are really good with him. And I'd like him to be good with most spells and not just like the two fastest ones. But it is a very good suggestion overall. I mean, that's the kind of
Hmm.
thing that we could do. So,
Okay.
and that is specifically a mechanic that we've thought about. So I can't
Okay.
guarantee that yes, we'll do that, but that's a good idea.
Is web affected by disarm? Question in chat.
Web is a skill that doesn't require the user to have a ranged attack, so I don't think it's currently affected. Maybe it should be.
Hmm.
I'll look at that. Disarm is
Okay.
supposed to remove any ranged attack. Actually, I mean, I guess it should be because disarm is supposed to remove any ranged attack that exists. So
That's
that would
right.
also include actually, the red Elder Dragon's attack. Honestly, as it comes into play, I mean that's a pretty heavy mechanic there. So we'll look at those things and we'll try to make it consistent.
Okay.
Part of it is that the
Okay.
labeling is not clear, but we'll get there. And I also agree, by the way, that a Niven's extra attack doesn't necessarily have to get removed. It's happening because it's currently coded as an extra ranged attack, but he could certainly keep it and just hit, without a ranged attack twice when disarmed.
Oh, okay.
Keeping in
I
mind that
see.
that's not particularly relevant. He is fairly badly damaged by Glasha.
Hmm.
But anyhow, alrighty.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think that's getting pretty close to wrapping it in terms of the things we wanted to talk about and cover. Um, Happy to go over anything else that you guys want to ask about at the last minute. GP, how's your list of to-dos? Are you feeling good?
I'm feeling pretty good. I don't think many people agree with you when about the Red Dragon or
People
about
pe-
Kulaf
people think that Red
about
Dragon
Web.
and Web should not be stripped by Glasha.
Well, I think from a logic perspective, I don't know about a game mechanics perspective.
No, I mean that's a perfectly fair point. I mean, this is why we want feedback. What I was saying is that those are ranged attacks. If you have windshield on one of your creatures, those attacks are affected by it. So that's why I'm
Agree.
saying they're ranged attacks. But
Mm,
if people specifically say no, that shouldn't be thought of that way, then okay. I don't. I actually don't think that it's currently disarming those things, so they don't have to. It doesn't have to start if people don't want it to.
yeah. Well, I like to see ranged, nerfed because I hate red dragons. But anyway,
Everything's so personal for you.
it is. It is. I take it very personally.
Well, that's because you have such a big heart. It's huge.
Um, it is. It is. Yeah. The real reason I wanted is because I like my melee decks. So.
Maybe we should create a card called Trumpelstiltskin. If you say its name 3 times, it comes and fires you. No, I don't know.
And he becomes huge.
It becomes huge. All right. I guess that's gonna wrap it. Thank you guys for following and watching us as always. Last thing I'll say is if you're watching this stream and you have not yet followed the Twitch channel, please take a moment to follow the Twitch channel. We'd also appreciate it if you follow our Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. The reason that I say that is because a Twitch channel that has more followers is more popular. That's the way Twitch works. When people later on, when we start advertising Storm Wars through Twitch, if they see a lot of
Yeah.
followers and a lot of views, it's going to help all of us get more players. And more players means many things, but the most important thing that it means is that the Storm Wars dev team can make more content for you. It's not just about money;
That's
it's also
correct.
about being able to justify the investments of that money. So um, please, just do us a favor, click follow. It really helps. And again, thank you for watching.
Yep. Thanks, guys. All of your suggestions, even the latest ones about spending gold for or more gold for better packs, will be taken into
Yeah, that's a
consideration.
great idea. More ways to spend gold in general is a great idea, and I am working on that
Yeah.
idea. And maybe I'll start a thread in the forums where we can all talk about that. And I'd love to hear
Yep.
your suggestions on that. And by the
Cool.
way, probably for the next live stream, maybe not the next one, but quite soon, I hope that we'll be able to give you a little bit of a mobile preview as well, which should be fun.
All right. Excellent. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining. We had fun, and we'll see you
Definitely.
on the next stream.
This is Sir Valmont for me and Camson.
Camp soon.
Uh, Peace.
Later, guys.